Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another Joe's Bar. We are live, and we are feeling it. And sorry for the minute or two delay. We had a little technical difficulty on my end. Seems to be the way it is today. I'm having all kinds of technical difficulties, but nevertheless, I am joined by some really great friends here tonight. VIPs in their own right for sure, and I'm really excited to have each and every one of them here to hang out with us, talk some shop, and drink some drinks. So let me go ahead around the table and introduce everybody, and I'll start with the man who's hired somebody on my behalf tonight, Mr. Richard White.
Oh, hey. I'm Richard White. I am author, life coach, and God only knows what all. You can find me at authorrichardwhite.com, Twitter, rwhiteauthor, Facebook, author Richard White, and I think Instagram's author Richard White as well.
Awesome. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Cheers.
All right.
We'll take a double.
The weird thing is he's not going to move all night. He's very stoic. He's much more patient than I am. That's for sure.
That's course strength.
All right, Robert.
Hey, everybody. Name's Robert Cano. I am an author, father, husband, all that jazz. I write fantasy, dark fantasy, epic fantasy, science fiction. I also dabble in some more of the non-fiction side of things. I'm working on a memoir of my life, specifically that of childhood and that kind of thing, which was awful and I think kind of worth telling. So it was kind of one of those things of, how to get above, how to rise above. With that said, you can find me pretty much just on Google. Just Google Robert Cano and you'll find me. I'm there. Thanks.
Awesome. Welcome, sir. All right. And Mr. JD, who already has a compliment about his lovely do.
It's poofy. This is my unabridged hair. Greetings, fellow humans. This is me without gel. It rarely happens, so enjoy the view. I'm going for the Egon Spengler look. My name is JD Estrada. I'm an indie author from Puerto Rico who decided to move to Atlanta because eventually he might want to star in the season premiere of the real life show of The Walking Dead, because that's what this feels like. Beyond that, I write urban fantasy, middle grade fantasy, nonfiction poetry, all that jazz. I have a special project called Blank Comics, it's kind of an interactive comic book. As a storyteller, I'm blind. I give you the panels. I give you the story. I tell you what goes in the panels, but there's no drawings because I can't draw for shit. We can talk about that later. If you have questions about that, by all means ask. And yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and that's about it, because I do have a TikTok account, but I'm too old for TikTok.
Like, you see that, JD?
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Yeah, you're probably the right demographic for TikTok. Are you kidding? Dodo Bananas would kill on TikTok.
There's 2 videos. It doesn't get many. They don't get many.
Really? Well, that's too bad.
But
we'll talk about that. We'll get you marketing later.
Always right.
For now, we need to say hello to the awesome Megan Morgan. Hello, Megan.
Hello, how are you?
How are you?
I'm doing all right. So I'm Megan Morgan. I'm the author of The Altered Wake and The Altered Rise, which I'm sure will be out soon. I have 2 short stories in a collection of tales called In the Blink of an Eye, based off of the film Butterfly Kisses by Eric Christopher Myers. And I was just talking with him this evening about his proposed next project, which I'm going to be involved in from the sounds of potentially. And tonight I'm drinking a hot toddy.
That's awesome.
Nice.
2 awesome things. Tell me, and I know you probably can't share a lot, but tell me that we're looking at a sequel.
At the moment, that would be rather difficult to start planning due to the fact that
Whoa.
no one would be able to actually
Who
do
fell
anything.
off the bar stool?
So it's probably good. It's going to be something that we can get started sooner rather than later.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You had a weird mic malfunction there.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. So what you say one more time so people can hear it.
So the project is going to be something new because it's going to be something that we could get started on right away.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're all good.
For people who don't know, tomorrow evening, or probably tomorrow afternoon-ish time frame. We'll see how fast I can get it out after I'm going to be nice and toasty tonight. But I'm almost done with the editing as we speak anyway. But we have Fandom Forum, which is one of our shows that we will premiere tomorrow. Episode 2 of season 2 is Mr. Eric Christopher Myers' Butterfly Kisses movie. We had a nice conversation about it, and I hope after you watch that, you'll get enough taste for wanting to go and see the movie. It is free right now on Amazon. We had a nice conversation. You're gonna go check it out. All right. After you watch that, I hear a serious echo. Somebody's got to YouTube up.
Who's got their YouTube up and ain't muted?
Oh, I don't know. That's weird. Okay. We're having all kinds of fun there's like little audios tonight. So weird.
There's a ghost in the system.
So, Mr. Mesa, I looked it up for you. It says in July it's happening. So I haven't heard if it's going to be canceled or not. I would guess, if I was a betting man, that you're gonna see it at least get postponed maybe a few weeks. But I don't know. I don't know what the situation behind Tampa Bay is. If they have something where they can't get out of their lease or they're already committed, they may have to go ahead with this conference. But a lot of these this is happening in a lot of places. So I'm hearing right now that most things through June are going to be canceled or moved. July is the magic area in which nobody knows. In August certainly is one of those as well. I don't know about anybody else. If anybody else had something canceled that they want to mention or moved from June or some coming up.
Jordan Con got canceled. It was actually this weekend. I was supposed to be at a booth today. And Puerto Rico Comic Con got moved from the end of May to August. Crossing fingers.
Nice. August, isn't that hurricane season?
Hurricane season starts at the end, on June 1st. So August isn't the worst month. September is. September has had like the worst hurricanes that Puerto Rico has had, or at least in my lifetime, they have all occurred in that month.
So that's like the perfect tourist month then.
In terms of prices, it's awesome. and if you get a good swell, there's good surf. But the thing is that people debate whether climate change is real or not. And the thing is that if you surf in Puerto Rico, you used to get surf already in September, and now you have to wait like October. And it's been consistently that way. And it's just getting later and later. The seasons are starting later and later. And you go like, yeah, that shit ain't normal.
Hello, Lorelai and Laurel. Well, nice to see you. Welcome. We've got a bunch of new people here tonight because we are broadcasting live through CyberCon as well. So exciting. We have a nice little crowd building up already, and that's awesome. And of course, we have our great, I will call them VIPs, even though you can't see them. But our VIPs in the YouTube chat are always VIPs, and they're fantastic. And we have our regulars who are here. I'm gonna call Rebecca our Norm because she's
Norm.
Yeah.
She's everywhere.
You know that you don't know the reference, Richard?
Isn't that from Cheers?
Yes.
Norm, would you do something?
That's probably more like Norm than anything right there. Him just standing there. Hello everybody. Before we get too far into this, because I know once we get started, we usually go pretty good. I want to mention that tonight, my indie brew, we'll give it a go here. I've never tried it, and I'm about to open it for the first time. But it's High Water Brewing Company's Campfire Stout. What it says here is it's a stout brewed with graham crackers and molasses with natural flavor added. Campfire Stout evokes fond memories of wilderness camping adventures, notes of chocolate, graham cracker, topped with a hint of marshmallow, and it will be leaving you wanting s'more. Oh, cute. That's a nice play on words there. Like any campfire experience, this beer is best shared with a warm circle of family and friends. 6.5% alcohol. That's not too bad for a beer. That's a little low, but it's medium, I guess. Let's pop this baby open, give her a taste, and see how it goes.
Are you gonna pour it?
No, I'm gonna drink it right from the can. It's campfire, man.
I know it's campfire.
I have to be drinking right from the can.
No, my comment is because I had a s'mores. I don't know if it was a stout or a porter recently, and the thing is that I had to pour it to get some of those notes out. Because if not, it was just like it was a good stout or porter. But I was like, where's the graham cracker? You know, the promises that I was given. And then I poured it out, and you could at least smell it. It was very subtle, and I'm like, yeah, sometimes you want it a little more in your face. But I have had that backfire in my face. I once had a vanilla ice cream stout, and dude, it was too much. It was too much. It was too sweet for me. So try to imagine.
It does smell of a hint of graham cracker, but it smells more like the marshmallow flavor. I think that's probably what's at the top of it.
Okay.
It tastes like burnt embers. Really, it's not strong. It's actually kind of a mild stout. I would say it's even more towards a porter, but it's nice and creamy. It's like a cream soda with a little bit of beer in it, kind of thing.
Nah, I'd do that.
No, that won't do for you.
No, I have. I had a vanilla ale a couple of weeks back, and that was interesting and nice.
I know that Mike, who I don't know why Mike's not here, but he's usually here. But I know that he had a vanilla stout or a coffee beer stouty or coffee beer lager. Was it a lager? No, maybe it was an ale. Maybe it was a coffee ale that he wanted me to try. And I can't find it anywhere here, so I have to go to the East Coast for that.
Alive.
Does JD know how dirty he's sounding right now, or is that just me? That's always just you. If you have to ask that question, Rebecca, you should know better.
She needs a T-shirt that says "It's just Jonesy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, she does.
So what do you do with your hot toddies there?
It's just hot water and a lot of lemon juice, and sometimes I'll put in maple syrup. Tonight I did honey and a lot of Jack Daniels.
Looks like it's mostly Jack Daniels.
It's a lot of Jack. It's a lot of Jack in there, and a little bit of hot water.
So it's a Jack Toddy. Okay.
Exactly. Yes.
And yes, Rebecca, that one does sound dirty.
She's making the shirt. I'd buy it.
I'd buy it.
I'm pretty sure it'll be for sale here in about 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, it'll be up on the Three Careers Press
It's
website.
just Jonesy.
It's just Jonesy.
Oh, I don't have a big speech on my can, but I've got hazy little thing. So I'm thinking somebody was stoned and pilled up at the same time and come up with something to do with Elvis and Bob Marley.
Nice.
Oh, I removed you instead of put it back up there, Richard. Let's see it again.
Oh, you might not be able to see all the can because it is green. So my green screen kind of hides it, but that's the best part.
That is awesome.
Here it goes. Act up.
I've seen that one before. That's interesting.
You know, I tried it for the very first time last week, and it's one of the better tasting beers I've had in a while for an IPA. So I went and bought 4 of them today and said, I'm going to try it out.
At least my experience lately with hazy IPAs is that it's a weird word to use for it, but they're juicy and it's just it's a very, very satisfying.
Especially weird word
that was dirty.
knowing our crowd.
Yeah, but again, you guys are drinking straight from the can, and I always pour it so I can also see what the hell I'm dealing with. And with hazy IPAs, they're really hazy because they're borderline unfiltered, and that residue, it's good stuff.
Sounds like my personality.
I find that most beers are best out of like a ceramic tankard if you can get one.
Ooh, yeah.
It's the way
I had a stout the other day. Trying to think, Dragons. It was the Dragon's Head.
Dragon's Milk.
Dragon. Thank you. And it's a beer. It's a barrel. It's from a bourbon barrel.
All their stouts are. They have one. They have their go-to.
The vanilla one you talking about?
I don't know if they have a vanilla one. They have a go-to one. They have one that's aged in oak barrels that is amazing, and they have a white stout. Wow. I like turtles.
Hello, Eric Christopher Myers.
Hello, Eric. We were just talking about you earlier, bud.
Yes,
we're excited to hear that you got a new movie coming out or planning, started. That's awesome. Congratulations, welcome. And we're talking about your premiere tomorrow for our show. Real excited about that. Just incredible movie. Everybody should go check that out. Even I don't want to spoil anything about our show, and I want everybody to go see our show, but definitely the movie's worth checking out right now. It's called Butterfly Kisses, and it's on Amazon Prime, and it's totally free. So if you have Prime, that is. So go check it out. Hi, everybody. I love that you're commenting and you're here. That's my favorite thing in the world, JD.
Rebecca can't be the only one that's everywhere.
Is that the goal now?
No, I can't handle her workload. No, fuck no. There's no way. She's a tank. So I don't know about you guys, but in terms of inspiration and workflow, I go great in spurts and very rarely in marathons. It can happen. But over a sustained period of time, I go like ups and downs. And there's some people that it's like, well, every day at 3 o'clock, I'm going to do this. And it's like, bless your discipline.
Yeah. I can't do that either. I have to write when I have the opportunity to / when I have the flow, I guess, because I work in a mode where, the kids are around, questions are being asked, and I need to spend time with the family and that kind of stuff. So outside of that, I really have to try and make the time to write. And then, with being in school, I have to write a lot for school. So that.
Are your classes still going on, Robert?
Yeah, they are. Especially like I'm taking my second year of Latin right now, or second semester of Latin, and that's a nightmare. The professor's awesome. The class is actually not bad, but it's so fast. Like we're learning new concepts every 2 days, and like you don't have time to breathe. You just don't. And there's 3 midterms in the class plus the final. It covers a total of like 40 chapters, and it's just 20 chapters. There's 20 chapters first semester, 20 chapters second semester, and it's just a lot. So anytime I'm able to get some writing in on my work in progress, I have a smile on my face. So yeah.
So what does the Robert Cano? Is it Cano or Cano?
It's Cano.
Okay, what does the Robert Cano shield crest? What's it gonna have?
In what way?
Something in Latin because you want to be fancy.
Oh no! I'm good. I don't care about being fancy. Hard pass. I'm just a normal guy. I tell people all the time that I'm probably most like the comedian from The Watchmen, just because I see everything for what it is, and I
There's
laugh.
a comedian on that show.
On The Watchmen, not the
Yeah.
show,
The comic, the
like
novel.
the graphic novel / movie. Yeah, the comedian he's not my favorite character in the graphic novel, but he's that guy who's smart enough to see things for what they are, but knew that he couldn't do anything about it. And so he just laughed about it. He became a parody of everything that he saw. And sometimes I feel like I'm that guy. I'd rather be Ozymandias, because I can make the hard decisions, I think. But, when it comes down to it, I'm like, there's nothing I can do about it, so I'm just going to laugh.
Well, for the longest time, I lived under the saying of, if you got to go with a smile from the original Batman. Well, not the original Batman, the 1989 Batman.
The Tim Burton Batman. Yeah, I got you.
Jack Nicholson line.
No exploding sharks.
No exploding sharks or bat nipples.
Bat. I will never buy bat again.
Yep. Oh man, poor James.
Everybody heard the news about Sam Raimi doing the second Doctor Strange?
I heard that. Yeah.
Yes.
And the multiverse of madness.
Yeah.
I'm curious because I really, from all the Marvel movies, Doctor Strange is one of my favorites. I know it has that sequence that really, really gives you vertigo, but beyond the physical effects of that scene, I think it's a lot of fun.
I did too. I was pleasantly surprised by that film. I avoided it for a very long time, and then I just was one day bored on Netflix and watched it, and I was really surprised at how well it was. It was a really, really well done film. Sam Raimi does sequels pretty well, so I'm pretty excited about that. So,
yes, he does.
Two of my all-time favorites. So,
and he does
working with an actor like Benedict Cumberbatch, I think could definitely lead to some serious awesome.
Yeah. And I would imagine that Bruce Campbell is going to make an appearance somewhere somehow. Be even better.
Yeah.
And he also made one of the most underrated films, I think, of the 20th century. Is it 20th century? Yeah, The Quick and the Dead. I think it's a pretty good, well underrated film. But
which version?
The one with Sharon Stone, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Russell Crowe's first film, by the way, everybody.
That's his first film.
That was his very first film.
And Gene Hackman was a villain.
Yep. Gene Hackman was a villain.
It was fun.
For the second time in the Westerns.
Well, I mean, there's an old Quick and the Dead as well from like the 70s, I think.
Yeah.
And that one was also really good. But the one with Russell Crowe and Sharon Stone and all that one actually wasn't bad.
The Quick and the Dead is an ancient proverb too, so it's technically a sequel to the Bible, I guess. But so technically, it's still a sequel. So he still does sequels very well, in my opinion. I'm stretching it, but
I love Russell Crowe in Western. I think he does a good job.
How many Westerns has Russell Crowe been in? I can only count one.
Me too.
I think he's been in like 2 or 3.
I gotta look that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out because I'm like
BTS.
Russell Crowe. I think Russell Crowe and I think Gladiator because that's one of my all-time favorite movies.
Or A Beautiful Mind, or
soundtracks. No, I mean I love A Beautiful Mind, but I mean honestly, it's Gladiator for me.
310 to Yuma.
310 to Yuma.
Yeah.
My favorite Russell Crowe movie is Master and Commander: Far Side of the World.
What?
That was a really good movie.
What?
He's really great in that. And the music for it is fantastic. It was a really great adaptation of
Did I fall off the boat? What?
Yes.
Oh my god, that movie's so boring.
It's so much more interesting and faster paced than the books were.
Yeah, the books are very slow.
Thanks for selling that one for me.
If you want to learn how old school ships operate, read Master and Commander books.
That's probably my
Because-
problem. I do not want to know all that.
Every part of old school wooden boating.
Yeah, you know those conversations that we have sometimes regarding too much information in a book?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
It's like a nautical textbook, right?
Nah,
almost
20,000
Really?
Leagues Under the Sea. It's like, dude, get to the point. It's like, and then the sponges were there.
Hey,
and then he
we're
looked
10,000
at
feet down and nothing's happened. We're 15,000 feet down and nothing's happened. Hey, we're 20,000 feet down and nothing's happened. Oh wait, there's an octopus.
No, the creepy thing is for me about that book is that guy didn't have an idea of what a submarine was, and he nailed a lot of things. That was like, who did you talk to? What was what was your research like? It's like at a bar.
You know that Jules Verne was very known to hang out with guys like Timothy Leary and guys like that, right? And he would drop acid quite a bit in his lifetime.
hey, if it works, I mean, worked for Lewis Carroll, right?
Is he famous for dropping acid and writing books?
Actually, there's no proof that he did, and he's denied it. So it's hard to know for sure.
Deny it.
Yeah. So,
and you can kind of tell.
Well, I mean,
books go off in weird ways.
So I read Alice in Wonderland to my daughters, and it was to my older daughter first. She was maybe 4 or 5. She absolutely loved the book, but man, reading it sometimes was a nightmare, just because there are so much. That's funny.
It's pretty good.
But there was just so much wordplay, like the way he twisted the words, the way he played with the terminology, and then especially like with the caterpillar, right? Like the caterpillar, that part was a nightmare. It was hard to read, and not in a necessarily a bad way, but just in a okay, you have to have fun with this kind of way.
Yeah.
Did you see this? Did you see what Regine said there? He said there was opium.
Tincture of opium, yeah.
That's awesome. That's a good comment too there, JD. I wish you had said it instead of written it, but
There's Richard now.
It's like, guys, are you in the bar or are you texting at the bar? You're texting at the bar. You put the phone down.
Y'all are texting at the bar. Some people's kids.
This is a very good point by Regine. There was a lot of people drinking absinthe and writing poetry, and but I know
that was a horrible poet, by the way. Don't
wait! Stop right there. Absinthe and poetry. You got my attention.
Don't forget the laudanum, bro. Don't forget the laudanum.
I gotta try that.
Yeah.
Or is that what laudanum? What is laudanum? I don't even know what that is.
It's a painkiller. It was supposed to be. It was used a lot for headaches.
The little brown bottle.
Yes,
the little brown bottle used big in the Old West.
Yep. Oh, hey, watch.
It was liquid morphine.
Tombstone. That's the one.
I didn't know it had a name. I always thought it was just a little brown bottle.
Yeah.
It's basically liquid morphine.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a sense. I mean, it does have its differences, but the most comparable thing that it was when I did the research on it for my Western book is it's very comparable to morphine. It's liquid morphine, drinkable morphine.
It's like the comparison that I think of. I was tweeting about this earlier. You know those wax bottles that have the little juice inside?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the adult version of that because I was talking that people are worried about their kids being led to drugs and cigarettes, and I grew up with candy cigarettes and Fun Dip. And Fun Dip, if there's any equivalent to cocaine in candy,
it's Fun Dip.
It's Fun Dip. It's like it's like no.
Sometimes you couldn't help but breathe that stuff in.
Yeah.
What you say?
I think that the little stick led you to learn how to freebase.
Yeah, and it had the pouch, and it's like, and you have to You get like you're a tweaker.
You had to lick it first to get the powder on it, right?
Yeah.
And then you put a little bit of tinge there, just enough, and then you wouldn't eat the stick until it like completely disintegrated in your mouth. So,
Eric, the Star Trek the motion picture is a Coke bin. What are you talking about?
yes, I don't. Yes, I'm not a big Regency guy, but the brown bottle you mentioned Tombstone. That was what Wyatt Earp's wife was dying off of, right, or killing herself with.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite. That's my favorite Western of all time.
Yeah, highly inaccurate, but it was really good movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is it has a lot of inaccuracies. My grandfather watched it with me. My grandfather was huge on Westerns. That's where I found my love for writing Western stories. And we'd watch Westerns all the time when I was over. And I convinced him finally to watch this new one, Tombstone, at the time. And we watched it. He was madder than a hornet. And here's the story why he was mad. He refused. He would never watch that movie again, ever. Because Doc Holliday shoots a double-barrel shotgun 3 times and doesn't reload. I'm telling you. That's his exact reason.
Is that accurate? Because he comes up, it's cocked half. I'm thinking about it because I know this movie frame by frame. He's up, he
shoots it in the air. He shoots it once. It changes to Wyatt and comes back and he shoots again.
All right, let me go through it in my own process here. He's got his coat on his shoulder. He's got it half cocked there. He's loading it as he's walking up. He puts 3 shells in there, and then he cocks it back, takes off his thing, and he's aiming.
Well, it's a double-barrel shotgun, so you can't put 3 shots in it because it's a break open.
But he does put 3 shells in there. Go watch it. I bet you he puts 3 shells in there.
Okay, but in terms of the shotgun, how he cocks the shotgun, the only thing I can think of that is cooler than that is Terminator 2. Just Sarah going clack clack, and it's bullshit, and you can't do that, and I don't care. But it's cool.
I don't care either. It was just too much awesome. And Sarah Connor is awesome in that movie.
Yeah, so he had 1 in the barrel already, and then he put the second one in, and he had 2 in his hand, and he put the third one in, and he clicked it, and then when his coat came off, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. That was Batman shit right there.
It was.
Anyone want to take a bet that Joe's not going to let this go?
We're all gonna get a message later in the group chat.
I totally, and frame by frame, and it's gonna be like that.
Oh, it's right here.
He's gonna have it all broken down for us.
I'm looking up the scene as we speak, guys. So.
Nice.
I'm not, but
cheers to that.
But I'm sure somebody will debunk me. But maybe it was 2. But I could have swore it was 3. But I mean, I understand the reality and logic of it that. It's a double-barrel shotgun, and you can't put 3 shells in it. But I'm just telling you, it's I think
Regine is watching it now.
He'll let us know. That's funny.
But I just think it's inaccuracies aside, it's got some of the most quotable moments in the history of movies.
Oh my! I'm Daisy if you do.
Val Kilmer literally owned that movie. Like that movie not only made Val Kilmer, but it was one of the greatest just ever.
I support that it made Michael Biehn. I mean, Michael Biehn was a character actor he still basically became a character actor, but he really shined as Ringo in that movie. And
he did.
And there's a lot. There's a Billy Bob Thornton in the movie. I mean, the amount of people that are Billy Zane is in this movie. I mean, the amount of people that you remember from the 80s are in this movie. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of people. And it was really crazy, too, because, my first introduction to Michael Biehn was The Abyss. Which is one of the greatest movies ever made, period.
Hells yeah. All right.
Value Kilmer. All right.
Sam
you know,
Elliott.
on a
Actually,
side
Sam
note,
Elliott's very
Michael,
subdued
on
in
a
this
side
film.
note, on a side note with Bean though, a lot of people don't know about his TV show, The Magnificent Seven remake, and I got to tell you, he did a hell of a job in there.
I never saw that one. I'll have to check it out.
I don't know if it's still available, but it was on Amazon.
Okay.
The last time I knew it was on Amazon. I
Are you
have it
talking
in my
about the
watch.
series?
Yes, it was a series. I
Okay.
think it was only. I think they only lasted like 3 seasons. I want to say it was like 95, 94, 96.
Well, he was
era.
already famous by then. He had been in Terminator by then.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, no, absolutely. But I'm just saying, a lot of people don't know him for as on a Western spectrum from Tombstone, but don't realize that he was in
The Magnificent Seven as
the
well.
Magnificent Seven remake, and I think they did a really good job. I loved that show. I actually like that remake over the original Magnificent Seven TV series.
And I will contend that Val Kilmer's turning point is real genius. That's my contention. But
Real genius. That was a great one. That was a very fun movie. Loved it.
Do we get a cameo of Val Kilmer in Top Gun?
yes, he's in it.
In the new Top Gun?
He's in it. He's listed there. It's in the cast.
Yeah, he's listed.
Is he?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. I just was wondering.
I think they're saving a few surprises for us.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
You know how
There's
bad
gonna
I have
be
been waiting
fan
for this
service.
moment. No, hands down, my 2 favorite movies of all time will always be Top Gun and Days of Thunder, and I have waited every day since the first time I've ever watched Top Gun in my entire life for Top Gun 2.
Do they take your breath away?
Yeah. Especially the volleyball scene.
That's nice. Good job.
Yeah, it's the volleyball scene. Yeah. That's the one. That's what did it for him.
I'll have to send you a video, Richard. Quentin Tarantino, by the way, agrees with you. He says that's the greatest screenplay ever written, and there's a reason why he says that. And I'll send you the video. I guess I could spoil it for everybody here if they wanted to hear it.
This is on my wife's side of The Office. That's Goose.
But I mean, I could spoil it if y'all wanted to hear it. But
I like I said, I love
see, I'm validated. Thank you very much, Regine. I'm validated.
Yeah,
it's
so
a double barrel
3 times.
gun, and he shoots it 3 times.
That's what I said, though. He had loaded it 3 times.
Oh,
So how about you other guys? What are your all's favorite movies and why?
Big Trouble in Little China. That's my Dirty Dancing. If I'm sick, that's my chicken soup for the soul.
Nice. That's a good choice.
Yes, sir. The check is in the mail.
Yes, it is.
I don't know. On a dark and stormy night, when they look at me and they say Jack Burton, I say, yes, sir. The check is in the mail. I love that movie. That's a quotable. Another Kurt Russell vehicle. We're all on Kurt Russell tonight, everybody. That's a really great film.
Tell me something on Kurt Russell and Tombstone. Do you think Kurt Russell would have been better in Wyatt Earp than he would have been in Tombstone?
Why? Why do you ask that?
As in the movie Wyatt Earp?
Yeah, the movie Wyatt Earp, Kevin Costner.
Why do you ask?
I think it's a different approach in terms of movies, and he was a really good fit in Tombstone. Wyatt Earp, the movie it's just a different tone of movie.
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely is a different tone.
So
I don't think Kevin Costner was the right choice for it.
No.
But I think for what it was, Wyatt Earp was a decent movie. Like it had, that one was the more accurate of the Wyatt Earp based movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually goes through some of the trials and stuff like that take place because they are tried for murder. And all that stuff because they're gunning down all these cowboys. So it's a very, I think we're trying to compare apples and oranges, and it's not.
How about this? Would Dennis Quaid have been a good Wyatt Earp in Tombstone?
No.
Because we know that Val Kilmer would have been is the best. Doc Holliday. There's no doubt about that. But
I think Kiefer Sutherland could have been a really dope Doc Holliday.
Maybe.
What do you think of Val Kilmer doing Wyatt Earp Revenge and playing Wyatt Earp after he played Doc Holliday?
What is this meta moment?
Well, the only Western that I've seen is like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So like I cannot help anyone here.
Well, then yeah, you get it comparing great to great at that point. I mean, that's an amazing film.
Yeah.
But what's your go-to movie, Megan?
Let's see. Oh my gosh, that's so hard. Okay, my favorite
Twilight?
my favorite movies to watch are the Lord of the Rings movies, which I feel like it's cheating because they're based off of books. But yeah, I'm not like a hardcore movie person. But yeah, if I want like my nice comfort food movies, that's where I go. Either that or almost any of the Marvel films. I especially love Spider-Man Homecoming. That movie is just like so fun, like top to bottom, side to side. You cannot go wrong with Spider-Man Homecoming.
Although I thought Far From Home
which Marvel movie is at the bottom of your list?
Ooh.
The original Hulk.
The Ang Lee version of Hulk.
Its redeeming qualities. I did a rewatch of all of them not that long ago. I don't know. That's such a tough question. I feel like they're all a lot of fun.
You're not going to hurt them. They all make millions and millions of dollars. You're not.
I mean, they're all fun. They're all funny. Most of them have some kind of redeeming quality, even if they're not like completely mind-blowingly fantastic. I feel like the last Avengers movie, I walked out of the theater going, what just happened and why? And that was really upsetting to me because that was supposed to be like the peak of the movies. And I was like, you guys did time travel and you didn't do it right. And it drove me insane. It drove me insane. That's the only Marvel movie I've walked out of and been kind of angry.
I am so glad you said that, Megan, because so many people went so crazy over this movie, and I'm sitting here scratching my head thinking, you failed miserably.
This one here. I went crazy over it.
It was so difficult because I think that I think
that it ended the arc that it needed to end. I think people are upset because of the way it ended, but fuck all of you. It is the way it should have ended. It was amazing the way that they ended that movie. I will agree there's chunkiness in the middle and in the beginning, and the beginning doesn't make a lot of sense. But
are you kidding me?
The last 45 minutes of that movie, I'd put it up against any Marvel movie. I think it's stellar. It's absolutely.
I can't.
I liked the emotional arc of it, but the logic of it was, I think, like the issue that I had. I think especially at the very end, I was like, it was very disconcerting. This idea of like, okay, we bring all these people back. Oh gosh, spoiler alert. They bring all these people back.
Okay, I actually haven't seen it.
By like a decade compared to everyone else. I'm like, this causes like so many logistical problems. This is like such an issue. I was sitting there so concerned about like the sociological implications like the whole entire time.
Yeah. Well, there was so much wrong with it. I mean, I'm not going to get started on that. I could talk for hours on that, but I hadn't met enough people who thought that Endgame was horrible like me. Like I was like, it's not everything people are saying it is. I'm sorry, it's just not. And I'm getting like hate mail. But my family's being threatened.
That's ridiculous. Whoever's doing that's a jerk off, and they need to stop. But
no, I'm kidding. I was exaggerating for effect. So everybody's
entitled to their opinion, and
yeah,
everybody has different things. I mean, you and I agree on Logan, but I think and we all disagree and agree on things, and I think that's part of the fun of it. That's what makes it great. I think that's what makes it interesting, right? But
Mhm.
for me, Thor: Dark World is the bottom of the bottom. That's the one that I can't. I couldn't finish it. I just couldn't. I was
Yeah.
done.
You know what I did love about Thor: Dark World though? Frigga's fight scene was amazing. Straight up. That is, to me, that is one of the best scenes in the entire Marvel cinematic universe.
I don't know.
It was mind blowing.
I think I like Thor Ragnarok better.
Well,
I don't know why.
That one's okay.
I can't.
think it
I
was
can't,
too
love
I
funny.
Thor
can't give you a
Ragnarok.
reason. I can't give you a reason why, but I personally like Thor Ragnarok better than I did Dark World. What do you think, Norm?
Definitely.
Thor Ragnarok is just so much fun. It has like a really specific style that really brings out, I think, the comic books that it's based off of. The humor in that movie is phenomenal. I adore that movie. I could watch it over and over again. And Kate Blanchett is fantastic.
Absolutely.
She steals that one. Yeah, she completely stole that show.
You have such a great cast in that movie too. It's so amazing. Jeff Goldblum, who's awesome.
Hey,
I love that movie. That's one of my favorites. I dig it. I could watch it all day.
For the same reasons you like that movie, and I do like that movie for the same reasons you do. I would say the same thing about Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is very campy, very nice, and the end is very funny. And I like when Chris Pratt can do those kind of things because it reminds me of Andy in Parks and Rec. But it's very cool. I mean, it's very which he is Andy in Parks and Rec for anybody who's confusing themselves right now. But anyway, so I enjoyed that for sure.
And all of the elves from Lord of the Rings grew up to become Marvel villains. So
nice.
True.
Does that mean that we're going to be seeing Legolas as a villain in a movie soon? Because I think that would be fantastic.
That would be fantastic.
We haven't had that yet. That needs to happen.
Well,
although his role in Carnival Row is very anti-hero-ish.
So I've got some good fantasy people here. I'm curious what you guys all think about the Dune reboot. Are you guys excited about it?
I'm excited.
I'm excited. I enjoyed the movie, by the way, the original movie, but for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of it. I think the soundtrack is good. By the way, I've been listening to the discography of Toto. I'm not a fan. There's some fun tracks. The soundtrack for Dune is great. The wardrobe in Dune, the David Lynch version, is stellar. And there's some and some of the liberties that he took were actually, for me, even better than the book. The thing about using your voice and charging like a weapon and having that was all either him or someone else. That's not in the books. The sci-fi series, I own the first one, and it's more accurate, but it's very peculiar because the acting from some of it's like Oscar winner, whatever the fuck, and it's completely off. And at least every little bit that I've seen from this movie and what people are saying is like, man, it was hell, but I think it's going to be worth it. And
the book is what, like 700 pages? So
it's not that long.
It's pretty long, though.
It's a long book, and it's actually very slow.
But to get all that, and there's a history lesson in there, and it's my gateway book, by the way. For anybody who doesn't know this about me, this is my gateway book to adulthood. I read it when I was 10 years old. I looked at it and go, "This is a big book." And my dad said, "You'll really like that." And I read it, and I was like, okay, so now I can read these kind of books. So I felt intelligent at 9 or 10 years old when I read it. But
depending on the edition, it's between 400 and 500 pages long, which is chunky. It's not a small book. It's not it.
I think
it doesn't need to be it.
The problem that I had with Dune as the book, not the movie, was that there are large swaths of it that were unnecessary.
Yes.
Right. And so, like, it's a very slow read.
Yeah.
It's a good read, but you have to take the time because it is going to hurt at times. And that's one of those things that I think when people make the comment that Dune is the greatest sci-fi novel of all time, I heartily disagree. And it's not to say that it sucks; it's just not the greatest, right?
What would be your greatest, Robert?
1984, hands down.
Wow, nice. That's
Yeah.
esoteric sci-fi film.
It is, but it is sci-fi,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
a lot of the things that he foresaw actually have come into being
Yeah,
And continue.
and continue to. Absolutely,
I would
It's like-
I would go for Fahrenheit 451, but
that's also fantastic. Ray Bradbury is at the top of the list for sure.
that would be my probably sci-fi. Anybody else want to chime in?
What do you think?
For me, Dune. I'm a fan, and for me, the things that it might be long, but the first time I read it, it felt kind of like a history book from another galaxy, and it kind of creeped me out that way. I was like, shit, this feels real. It was like when I read Lovecraft for the first time, and
Nice.
when I read Lovecraft for the first time, it freaked me out because I was like, that guy doesn't have TV. He doesn't have Wikipedia. He doesn't have Amazon. He doesn't have dick. This is coming from his brain and research. So that was creepy. So in terms of
I he has dick, but in a different way. But
Philip K. Dick. Philip K. Dick.
How about you, Megan? Come on, I know you have one. Come on.
I know that it's super popular right now, but I adore Handmaid's Tale. I think that sort of took the concepts of sci-fi and did something really, really, really interesting and unique. And it feels like a very real world. Yeah, I love Handmaid's Tale.
And you were gonna say something, Rich, and I butted in. Sorry.
Oh no, I just wanted to ask what you all thought of them rebooting Blade.
Blade? Yeah, I heard about that. They were going to use what's his name, and I like the casting choice.
I'm not as upset at that as much as I am rebooting Saved by the Bell. But
oh, that's cool. Who's gonna play Screech?
Oh, geez. Honestly, I'm kind of tired of reboots, though. I want more original.
I do. I want original. I really do. I want to see more original and more new. But it is amazing to see how much stuff Hollywood is rebooting. It's crazy to see how much they are actually rebooting.
I mean, they're out of ideas.
No, it's not. It's not that they're out of ideas. It's all about return of investment, and it happens with music, it happens with books, and it happens with movies. They're like, okay, what's going to be if we invest this amount of money? What's going to get us twice that amount or more? And with reboots, they have a guaranteed audience that will give it a shot, unless it's Gem, which I saw the trailer and I was like, what have you done with part of my childhood?
That looked horrible.
I saw the trailer and it's like the cartoon is not exactly canon or awesome or epic, but it is campy and kind of fun. And when I saw the trailer, I was like, what is this?
That would be like Disney announcing that they're going to make a live action version of the Gummy Bears. It just doesn't happen. Like, don't do it.
Exactly.
It can't be. Just don't do it.
Well, the things that they could do it if they do it in CGI like Smurfs. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm saying that someone has probably thrown that idea out there, and someone has gone like, I don't think it has the traction, and smoking a cigar. I don't know, some shit like that.
Just like that.
Yeah, just like
the
that.
Cigar.
With a cigar at Disney.
I have something to turn full circle for all of you right now. So, I'm a Hollywood producer looking for new original material. Pitch me your book right now. Tell me your book in a nutshell. Give me the elevator pitch of your book and compare it to what we would see on the screen. What movie would you compare it to?
Only Human has been compared to American Gods, but in a more logical version. It has angels, vampires that don't sparkle, and it actually has vampire pirates.
Nice.
What's it about, though?
It's about a reporter that gets abducted, and then by a vampire. The vampire says, "We need you to save the world," and it's like he's either going to be dinner or help save the world.
I like it.
A special forces sergeant finds out the United States government was behind the attacks of 9/11 that killed his wife in the South Tower.
All right. Compare it to what movie?
The shooter.
Shit.
Oh, okay. I could see that.
All right, Robert.
Turned wraith against his will, Bennett embarks on finding his own death. And I would compare it to nothing. I've got nothing. I got nothing for it. I mean, it's kind of like a journey, but I don't know. Think Lord of the Rings, except the thing getting thrown into the Mount Doom is the person.
So like Joe versus the volcano, maybe?
I was thinking that. Oh,
just
God,
a much more serious version of that.
You stole my volcano thunder.
Is it okay if we cast Meg Ryan? Are you okay with that one? Can we tie it together? Do like
with Meg Ryan? No, Meg Ryan. No.
All right, Megan, your turn.
All right. The alternate is X-Men meets Star Wars. A young woman discovers that superpowers are popping up in the world around her, and her best friend has secretly kept her powers, hidden for years. And now the main character, Cameron, has to find out where the powers are coming from and hopefully save her best friend in the process.
Nice.
I like it.
What do you refer to?
That's kind of like the first X-Men, where kind of Wolverine's kind of searching, or they're searching for Wolverine a little bit, kind of idea.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know what they all harness yet.
Oh, on that whole series, I gotta go with Logan.
What? I'm sorry, I didn't understand a word you just said.
I said on that whole series, the X-Men series, I gotta go with Logan. That was probably one of my favorites.
I actually did not like them. I ended up coming out of that movie depressed. And I know that was
100% agree. I think it's probably the worst of all of them. Yeah. Actually, Last Stand is the worst of all of them. But that is, to me, I just couldn't. For
me, the movie is okay to a certain point, but when they get to the farm where everything that you've read in all the comics gets thrown out the window, and Xavier could have Alzheimer's, he could be completely senile, and he would not have done the decisions that led to that outcome. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that as a kid, I often looked up to Wolverine. Everyone has their own superhero. For me, it was Wolverine because he had a messed up temper, and he could take a beating and just keep going. And when I saw that what happened in Logan, I was like, so I wasn't.
Spider-Man was fine. Spider-Man was. I always liked that he was the sarcastic, cocky kid who, just always took chances and took risks. I always loved that about Spider-Man.
But the comics, Tobey Maguire, not so much, especially in the third one with the pelvic thrusting.
The third one was bad. Yeah, that one was horrible.
That was malo.
Yeah. But I mean, when it comes to Logan specifically, I felt like all they were trying to do was ride the Deadpool train.
Yeah.
In the
worst possible. There's a little bit more seriousness to it.
There was more serious, yeah. But I mean, Deadpool was literally the first one to come out that was a rated R superhero flick, right? And what Ryan Reynolds did was gold. He did something that was just beyond words, and it was lightning in a bottle. I don't think they're ever going to be able to replicate the feeling that they were able to get with Deadpool 1. That being said, Fox decided, hey, that worked. Let's do that with Logan.
Yeah.
And, obviously from a more serious standpoint. But
they tried to mix like spaghetti Western in there.
They did. And every choice they made, for me, just didn't work. It was like trying to cross Deadpool 1 with The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't there for me. I couldn't.
And when something's gritty just for the sake of being gritty, that kind of
or gratuitously violent for the sake of being gratuitously.
Yeah.
I mean, it was beyond gratuitously violent, that film.
It got to the point where it's like, did you need that? It's like, have you any of you read the graphic novel Monstrous?
No, I haven't.
People rave about it. The artwork is stellar, but
the artwork is great.
The storyline is kind of weird, and try to imagine something that the storyline is very elevated and it's very highbrow, and the main character drops F-bombs left and right, and you go like, it's not that I mind saying fuck, it's just that, use it properly.
Mm-hmm.
A well-placed fuck
It
is
has a
good.
very similar tone to let me look. Saga. I feel like Saga is a very similar way, in the sense that it's this very interesting storyline and it's clearly very well thought out. But it has a lot of like really sort of like, I don't know, oddly sort of violent moments in it.
Mm.
Okay, but how's the dialogue? Because for me, Monstrous, it's like, try to imagine in Lord of the Rings, you bow to no one, motherfuckers. It's like, it would have been that equivalent. It was just so out of place. And it's like,
Can I just tell you, the third one has such a great. Return of the King is just it's
a masterpiece.
It's so well done. It's so just crafted so beautifully. I don't care if it fall. All the fanboys out there right now, go sit and spin. Because I'm telling you right now, this is, as movies go, cinematically, this is one of the best crafted films, period. It's just purely amazingly done. And I will even forgive it trying to put in the three of the 25 endings that Tolkien had in at the end. That's fine, because they had the good endings, Samwise getting married, and the whole that all was all fine. But I just think the moments in that film, I'll remember those I'll remember those being in a theater and watching, the moment when Erewhon kills the king, and no man can kill me, and she goes, I'm no man. That's fucking awesome, right? Yeah. That's just a moment in time that was just amazing. And yeah, it's cheesy and all that and predictable, but I don't care. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but the hero's journey has been done 1,000 times. We, a lot of us explore it, and if you do it in a creative manner, or at least do it in high quality, it's still going to be enjoyable.
And that moment that you spoke of, where my friends, you bow to no one, tear in my eye. I don't care. Tear in my eye. I'll admit it.
But for me, my favorite is still Two Towers, just because I get into the movie and you got the intro, and when you start off with a bang, I was like, I was like, yeah.
See, this is where you lose me a little bit, because this one is less real than the other two. In that the trees drive me crazy. That I don't know what Tolkien was on when he wrote about the trees, but that all that arc drives me insane. And then them visiting the elfin land and all that. That's fine. I enjoyed the last battle, and it was done very well. It was shot amazingly well.
Helm's Deep.
Yes,
yeah, Helm's Deep was amazing.
But and all that leading up to that was a good arc. And of course the story moves forward, but it moves so fucking slow in that one. It's very slow. That one's a slower tempo than the other two, in my opinion, and that's why I couldn't.
I think Fellowship is the slowest of the three for me. But I also, when I'm watching the movies, I'm also thinking about the books, right? Mm-hmm. Because I have read Tolkien, everything that I have of Tolkien, which is The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, Silmarillion. I have read those every single year without fail since I started reading them, right? Which is like when I was 9 or something. Now, I do not know these books as well as Colbert does, but I absolutely love the world that Tolkien created, right? He's a master world builder, and I've used his Silmarillion especially to really um, to really hone my craft as far as backstory, as far as mythology, as far as all that stuff, right? So like that's one of those things where when I'm watching the movies, I'm thinking about the books, right? And I remember at first when the movies first came out, I was so bummed because Tom Bombadil was not in there, right? But when I got the movies and I bought the extended versions and I started sitting through all the extras, right? Because there's tons of extras on the disc sets. And so I just sat there and I just watched and I watched and I
Did you watch the short film that the Hobbits made?
Yes, love that.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. But one of the things that caught my attention was, and this is when I really started looking at the idea of adaptation, right? You can't put everything that's in a book into a movie. It literally does not function that way,
Yeah.
right?
It's not
Even
the same experience.
it's not right. And then like even I remember thinking about it when the Watchmen movie was made. Zack Snyder had put it out. That was probably the most accurate adaptation of any written form that I had ever seen, and may still be. Um, but the ending was very different from the graphic novel, right?
Yeah.
And so, but when you sit and you think about it, which made more sense? Turning the world against Doc Manhattan or creating a monster, right? And so these two different aspects, while vastly different, still had the same ending. So the point, the purpose, the idea of rallying nations under one banner, so to speak, right? That mattered. That was able to still get the ending that we wanted, right? And I know there's again, like mentioned fanboys, and I'm a huge Tolkien fanboy, obviously.
You know what I meant though.
Oh, I know, but like I have arguments with these people too because it's like, look,
Yeah, I'm
I
sure.
love the books, and I absolutely wish, I wish we could have put everything in. I would honestly, I would sit through a 10-hour movie just about Tom Bombadil, right? Because like he's amazing and he's like this really awesome character, right? He has so much strange backstory. Like he doesn't fit in
Yeah.
with Middle Earth, right?
Yeah,
He almost
it's almost like Lewis Carroll lent him over, or C.S. Lewis lent
Yeah.
him over to
There's a lot more. There's a lot more with Sauron too, right? And
Mhm.
all of that element
Yeah.
to it. And Christopher Lee was pissed off that they cut a lot of his stuff out of it. But you know.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, but I think at the end they did what they had to do. And you even think about Sauron, right?
Yeah.
Well, he was, before all this happened, he was a Numenor twisting the men over there, right? And those are the men that Aragorn is descended from. And so like all of that stuff, we don't get all of that. We don't hear about all of that in the story, right? That's all pretty much in the Silmarillion. But like all those things, they add up and they add little bits of history to the entire arc that, when you actually start taking everything bit by bit, it's just mind blowing, and I love it. You know what, Rebecca? Shut up.
And I agree with this statement, Rebecca, but the one thing about you can always say about Robert that I really appreciate is that he's very respectful and he's very honest. And anybody who's honest that comes from a place like from where Robert comes from, I will always argue with that because I think that's fun. I think he has fun when we chatter and banter. So
argue with me. We will keep it respectful and we will have a good time.
Yeah, I mean that's the cool thing. The fanboys are the ones that just their point is gospel and you can't convince them otherwise.
Mhm.
Those are the ones that drive me crazy. And then they always have an argument and they always have something where they don't like. They've got to find the thing that they don't like. The world's full of things that we can't like, and there's so much hatred and so much stuff out there. Why do we have to be like that? Why can't we just appreciate things for what they are?
There's too much negativity.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. And just because I don't like something doesn't mean somebody else shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that's such a huge deal to me.
You do you.
Exactly.
Like some people love Avatar, and I recognize it for the piece of shit of movie that it is.
Like my girls like watching it, so like we'll put it on sometimes, and I'm just like, oh, this hurts.
I watched it in 3D, and I was going, why did I have to watch this in 3D? All so that he could touch the flowers. I mean, James Cameron is falling off the deep end. He's become fanboy in his movies a little bit. It's a little crazy. I get the overall theme and the arc and all that,
but everything,
whatever you think of that movie, Sigourney Weaver is phenomenal.
She's the only redeeming thing in that movie. My problem with Avatar is that it's blatantly derivative of everything.
You mean Ferngully?
Ferngully, The Last Samurai,
Pocahontas, the Disney version.
Right. Well, it was funny because I remember when we walked out of it, and I actually enjoy the movie. I'll watch it. I'm not gonna lie. I actually enjoy the movie for the spectacle that it is. But
it is a spectacle.
When we walked out of the theater, my wife and I turned her over and looked over at her, and I said, "Have you ever seen Ferngully: The Last Rainforest?" And she said, "No." And I said, "This movie is that." Except Ferngully was able to do it in an hour and a half. So,
and there were plot twists in Ferngully that I didn't guess. The only thing I didn't guess in this piece of shit film was that the female Avatar only lost one of her parents. I thought both of them were gonna eat it. That's the only thing that I didn't guess.
So I've shit on Logan tonight. JD shit on Avatar.
And
who wants to go ahead and shit on something? Anybody else want to shit on something? What's a movie?
Reality shows. Reality shows. Let me shit on reality shows. I'm not even kidding. I'll get on my soapbox here for a minute. The guy that thought up reality shows should have been shot 10 minutes before he thought of it. I'm not even joking.
So what you're saying is you don't like Tiger King?
I haven't even thought of it. I don't even know what the hell it is. I haven't paid attention. All I know is it's because some jackass shared it on Facebook, and it happened to be in my news feed. It happens to be about some freak. And the only reason I know what it is because some jackass reporter asked Trump for a pardon for the guy. Other than that, I couldn't tell you.
I learned earlier today that James Nettles had as many votes as Joe Exotic in the 2016 presidential election. That's the only thing I know about Tiger King. But otherwise,
see, I don't know shit about it because I'm telling you, all the way back to Survivor and that stupid Dookie Suki Chiki in New Jersey or whatever the hell her name is. I'm telling you what, the guy that thought those kind of shows up should have been shot 10 minutes before he thought of it.
Here's the thing,
swear to God.
Richard, not to play devil's advocate because I completely agree with you, but people watch this, man. They make money.
I don't understand why they watch it. The worst.
That's the thing.
Here, let's get on. I'll get on the one I hate the most. I'll get on the one I hate the most. The one I hate the most. I fathom it. It disgusts me. It makes me want to vomit. Is this frickin' Bachelor and Bachelorette? Now, and here is why I hate it. You want to know why I hate it? Because
it's
real life.
The show.
No, in real life, if one man was hooking up with 30 other chicks, he is a dirtbag. He is a freaking dirtbag in real life. But on this stupid ass show, I want a flower. Are you shitting me? If I did that, every girl that my wife knows would be all together in a group. He's such a loser. Just get rid of him.
You know, Richard, you make incredibly valid points. But the one thing I will say as devil's advocate myself is that the redeeming aspect of those shows is that those people never stay together and they have zero amount of fame, they have even less than 15 minutes, and the consequences of their actions come tenfold. You find out that they get arrested for things that they did in their past, and they're not as vetted as you think they are. So karma comes back and bites them. Basically, is what I will say about that.
I just can't. I cannot watch them. I've never watched them. My wife sits there and watches them. She gives me a back massage or something like that. Anything I'm doing is sitting in the living room, headphones go on. I ignore my household when she puts that stuff on. I can't stomach it. It is the worst thing. I didn't even know what a reality show was until I started dating my wife. And she had that stupid Snooki jersey on. And I sat there for about 3 minutes and what the hell? You watched it. It took 1 second for
the stuff, the situation.
What in the hell is this? And where the hell did people think this shit up that it was great? And how do you have time for that shit? I work a full-time job. I'm a full-time parent. I'm a full-time student. I'm a full-time author when I can be. I ain't got time for all that shit. I ain't got a time to catch up with CSI and Chicago PD, much less watch that garbage.
No, I just
I don't have time for shows.
No, I watch a lot of shows. I watch TV. I play video games and whatnot. In terms of reality TV shows, I remember watching the first 2 seasons of Real World, or maybe up to the 3rd one, and it takes some evil ass people to say, "Okay,
Would you stop glaring at Rebecca? She doesn't like it."
It's like let me take this overly sensitive flower here, and let me take this slob that picks his scabs and drops it in the peanut butter, and then let me put in a stand-up comedian and see what the fuck happens. And it's like
it's the Stanford experiment.
and filming it, and it's like, wow. And in terms of The Bachelor, it's just the ew factor is just like it's like, oh,
Pretty through the roof, yeah.
if you give me your flower, I'll give you mine. What the hell is it? It's just
maybe, you know what? Eric over here comes up with a good, valid point. I'd like to hear the details of a real-world scenario in which the creator of a reality TV is assassinated by unreasonable, angry writer-killer from the future. Well, Eric, I'll put Mockingbird Alliance on the job.
But that does sound like an 80s movie. That would have been greenlit. In terms of asinine plots that got approved for some unknown reason, the things that the hokey films that we see now are being done on purpose. The ones that were done in the 80s, these were people that were going for it. Gymkhana was a thing.
Patrick Swayze would have to have the lead.
Roadhouse.
I've been having conversations about Bloodsport and the interesting dynamics behind that film, and I contend the best acting that Jean-Claude Van Damme has ever done is when he gets the powder, which is, by the way, it's not even powder. It's like a cloud. He runs into a cloud, people. Like the guy has like a clump of powder in his hands, and all it comes out is this little mist. And then that blinds him for 15 seconds. Are you kidding me? And then when he screams, he's like, "Ah!" That is the best acting Jean-Claude Van Damme has ever done.
Has anyone seen JCVD? I've been wanting to see that one.
I've seen it. It's very good.
I've heard that the monologue, Jean-Claude Van Damme has a monologue.
Yes.
And this is a real sentence, and it's a good monologue.
What's this? Wait. What's that? What movie is that?
JCVD.
I gotta see this.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I've heard really good things about that.
It's a decent film.
My question is: does he kick somebody's ass before or after the?
After the what?
After the monologue, does he kick somebody's ass before or after?
This is like watching Screech before he goes to jail. That's basically what JCVD is.
Oh.
So no split kicks. Okay.
No
Well,
split
I mean,
dicks.
he has like karate expositions and stuff like that in there, but it's and they talk about his disciplines and stuff like that. But it's like expose-ish. It's very interesting. It's kind of it's mockumentary style too, so it's it's very like it's like they're making fun of him, but he doesn't realize they're making fun of him, kind of thing.
Okay.
And, you know, it's very much that kind of thing. But yeah.
So how often do you practice your splits?
That's
I
why I have
don't-
the big powerful legs.
They come out when I'm drunk. Sorry.
The contention that I was posting earlier on Facebook earlier this week about was the idea that, okay, I can see why Ogre was in the film. Ogre deserves to be in that movie, but who did Forrest Whitaker piss off that he had to be in that film? I mean, Forrest Whitaker is a thespian. He's a Broadway, he's a award-winning, beautiful actor who's done amazing work, and yet he's the lackey as one of the FBI guys in the movie, and it's just like, who did he? And he wasn't even. And people are saying, well, it's early in his career. No, it's not. It's in the middle of his career. He had just come off of Vision Quest, which he got nominated for like a Golden Globe for. I mean,
Well, wait, let me look for something.
At some point, I figure everyone needs to get that really big paycheck, right?
I don't know if that was a really big paycheck. That was kind of an indie film at the time.
Okay, Michael Caine did not receive. He was not in the awards to get his Oscar because he was filming Jaws: The Revenge.
Okay, that's the best app comparison I've heard. That is, I will accept that as truth.
What I did mention in the comments. No, but that's a good Jaws.
And it's Michael Caine trying to do an American accent on top of that. They don't even let him do the British thing in there.
No, the thing is that Jaws 4 is the only time where a shark sounds like Godzilla. Do sharks have vocal cords? Does anyone want to Google that up? Because I'm pretty sure they don't.
I would probably agree with you.
It's like, and it literally sounds like Godzilla. It's like that the scream sound effect, the Willem scream. Well, the Godzilla of screams, when they shock the shark, it does that sound, and I go like, what?
All right, we're headed toward the end of this, so I want to make sure that Megan gets on her soapbox for a minute too, so that she gets time to get on her soapbox. So hit us up, Megan. What's something that you want to rant about?
Let's see. The biggest thing that I probably loathe and could probably go on about forever is the Wheel of Time series. I know there are a lot of fantasy people who adore Wheel of Time. I hate it with an absolute burning fiery passion. The female characters in those books are despicably written, and they all have these dreams about flowers and butterflies and like the men that they love. And it's absolutely atrocious. I hate it. I can't stand it. And then the first book ends, and that's the end, right? But then it just keeps going on for like no explicable reason. And then there are like universes and timelines. And I'm just like, I don't understand what's happening. I hate it. I hate it so much.
See? Reality shows.
I'm one of those people who likes Wheel of Time, but all of your complaints are completely legit.
I know a lot of people love it, and that's totally fine. I understand why they're entertaining. Can't stand them. Just really can't. I like read the first one, and then I like forced myself to read the second one, and then after that I was like, please kill me now. I can't take anymore. Before
we close, though, I gotta ask JD what he thinks of Avatar 2.
He's gonna be there opening
3 and 4 because they're making them all at the same time, which I can't imagine that James Cameron has it all together. What do you want to bet that an editor will 5 years down the road in an expose go, he tried to cut 3 and 2 together? and try to put a scene from 3 into 2. What do you want to bet he says that? I almost guarantee that's going to be an expose.
Okay, in terms of opinion, first off, I don't think it's going to have half the success as the first one because I think people have rewatched it and gone like, oh, that was a piece of shit. But some people might have gone to the Disney amusement park, and I've heard really good things about the ride. And they might be lulled into a sense of stupidity to give it another shot.
The ride's
You know,
well, you got this newer generation out there.
You know, beyond that, I can't say he has some amazing films under his belt. I cannot deny that. I can't say that it's going to be a surefire miss. I can just say that I was really disappointed in the movie because I had expectations and it let down each and every single expectation that I could have had. With the exception of visual effects. But even on that level, yeah, it's a beautiful movie, but it's not. To Robert's comment earlier, it's not The Abyss. The Abyss I saw, and I was like, "Holy shit!" To this day, some of the best effects that I've seen in a movie, and I think movies that have that can stand the test of time. I haven't watched Blade Runner. I'm going to watch it sometime during quarantine. People say that the effects in that movie still hold its weight. For me, in Big Trouble in Little China, the lightning effects are still some of the best that I've seen in a movie.
And Blade Runner 2020, is it 2020? Is that the name of it? Whatever the sequel is. Don't
the original 2049?
Yeah, thank you. 2049. Yeah.
I don't know.
I actually liked it. I actually liked that one. I didn't. The original was too slow for me, but the newer one actually had a better pace.
I mean, you can't go wrong with Rutger Hauer. I mean, that's my personal.
Yeah. Back to the Future. Even to this day, some of the effects that you see in Back to the Future, you go like, "Damn, that looks so cool." Even to this day, from Back to the Future 1 and 2, you see those movies and you go like, "I can't fault that." Jaws works because they had the problem that the creature looked like shit, and they were like, "How can we make this compelling?" And someone had this light bulb idea of just focusing on the fin and doing the first person perspective and different things like that. And they were smart about it.
I contend that Alien and Aliens has held up. I mean, people forget that Alien was in 1979. So,
and it's brilliant.
Alien, yeah, those movies held up very well. I think The Abyss is
James Cameron at his best. That's
I look at film this day and age, with all the computer generated stuff that they can do and how magnificent it really is. But going back through the years of all the special effects and the time and hard work and effort that directors, producers, actors, and the stuntmen and all of that put into movies from the past, from the 70s. I mean, all the way back, but even the bunch that are like the late 70s to the early 2000s, before we got really big into the computer animated stuff. I really see that I commend them for what they were able to do, because it's amazing what they were able to do with just a camera, people, makeup, and what they had. They didn't have computers to make all this stuff and make all these worlds around them. Film it on.
Too. He cuts off his own damn hand. That's amazing. That was an amazing scene in that movie.
No, but all of these, beyond skills and whatnot, it's also creativity, and it's not just depending on technology and what's available and whatnot. It's being creative. The Predator, the original Predator, not the Predator. I did not waste my time with the 2018 movie. The original Predator, the effects there and how they did everything. That's some interesting stuff. It's like, how can we make this compelling? Do it in infrared. Fuck, sold.
Kill me.
And it was really good. I will say this. So my favorite movie even though it had the ability to use computer generated graphics, did not. And that is Pan's Labyrinth. And I will tell you right here and now, that is Del Toro's magnum opus,
That is it.
which is saying something.
And one of the best
Because-
villains ever. In terms of villains, that guy is top
Mhm.
10.
That guy is an amazing villain.
In terms of
He-
brutal death scene, that's some hardcore stuff.
Savagery, like pure savagery. Like he feels nothing for anybody else.
And
It's just
you've seen Kronos, I would assume.
yeah.
That to me, that's a movie where the villain, we don't see the monster. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Del Toro. I think that Del Toro is amazing. Devil's Backbone is another one where you kind of get that. You get the the implying of a monster, but then
Right.
Well,
Well, see, and
Baba-
for me, it's less about the horror elements because I don't care about like nothing scares me. So like a lot of horror to me is campy, right? So like a lot
Horror.
of Del Toro's stuff, he does
Horror movie.
horror. He does some of the best horror films that I've seen, which is saying a lot because like when it comes to horror, I am very like I like the genre, but it's very rare that I get anything out of it, right? So I like suspenseful movies that actually make me feel something, make me think, make me excited, right? And for me, what happened with Pan's Labyrinth was a one-off, right? Like he was able to cross two very different genres and then meld them together in a way that you didn't know what was real and what was fantasy anymore, right? And it was so exquisitely done that there are those scenes, right, when the eyes, right, like that was creepy, but it was so beautiful.
Yeah, the horror. When it comes to horror movies, the best horror movie I have ever seen in my godforsaken life is that Geico commercial where they run. There's a running car. Let's get in the car. No, let's go to the chainsaw shed. I swear to God, almost every movie I can ever remember of horror film that I watched was some dumb blonde tripping over her freaking shoelace. She gonna get it.
She gonna get
She
gonna get it. It don't matter. It don't matter if it's Mike. It don't matter if it's Jake. It don't matter if it's Fred. She gonna get it.
I think that that's definitely the public perception of horror, but I think that horror is unfortunately a very disrespected genre that sort of became campy over time. I think that if you go back and you watch, like, say, the original Friday the 13th, the original,
The Omen, the original Exorcist.
Yeah, you watch the original Exorcist, you watch the original Nightmare on Elm Street. These are fantastic films that were really tackling the ideas of fear and sort of tapping into what was sort of like cultural anxieties of the time. And they were sort of projecting them in a very interesting way. And I think that we kind of like lost that during a lot of like the 90s and the early 2000s. And I think we've had rare moments here and there, like say Blair Witch Project,
horrible movie,
or things like that, where we've had these moments sort of float to the surface.
Well, wait though, the new one or the original?
The original Blair Witch Project.
I'm asking Rob, which one? You said horrible movie, the new one or the original?
I didn't even bother seeing the new one. I saw the original one in theater because I was super excited.
I've seen the original.
Oh my God,
I have.
This movie's going to be amazing. And then the movie was so stupid. Like I couldn't even finish it.
I think that there's a case to be made that horror films are like indie books. There are some real gems and there's a lot of shit, and people take it for granted, and people don't see that they have to look for the good stuff.
And I do difficult genre because it's sort of, it has to, if to function correctly, it has to really tap into the things that we're afraid of.
Right.
And I think that anytime horror sort of like loses sight of that and it becomes about blood or or a monster rather than the sort of horror of humanity, I think that's when it sort of loses its way. And I think it's really easy for it to do that because I think that tackling fear is difficult for us to do as human beings. So I think that it's difficult for creators to approach that particular genre.
So let me ask
Have
you,
you guys seen The Witch? Have you seen Edgar Eggers' Witch, The Witch?
Have it on.
I didn't see that.
Have it on queue.
Definitely check that out. That is one of those films that is you'll be like, what the fuck? Oh, it's crazy. It's very, very good.
Yeah. For me, people that say that they haven't been scared by a movie, I always point them towards the Babadook. The Babadook scared the shit out of me.
You know, I don't.
It's low tech and it's so well made, and I love that it's low tech. By the way,
Megan's got the look on her face like she wants to punch you.
I have to go. And it's probably the way my brain works. I've never really been officially scared by a movie. However, I've been grossed out, and I have no idea. I cannot find this movie again. People have asked me to find it, and I have tried, and it was like a B. It might have been a C or a D movie called Mother's Day. And these two dudes run around in the woods, chopping people's heads off for their mother. And it was like 80s, 90s. My mother made me watch this thing. I was about 7. And I wasn't scared. It didn't scare me. It didn't scare me. I wasn't scared to death, but it was sicker than hell. Like, it freaked me out. Like, I was like,
I
was grossed out.
When we were kids, was a completely different beast.
My mother made me watch stuff. But the one thing my mom made me watch, over the years of watching the horror stuff she loved to watch, she was huge on Stephen King, absolutely huge on. And the one thing I couldn't watch Stephen King with her because that didn't happen in the book.
Right.
So, but she made me watch the Amityville Horror. Now, that was not scary to me, but the interest and the who done it? I mean, I gotta say the original Amityville Horror really were a pretty good set of films, and it wasn't just the filming itself; it's the story. The actual story of the Amityville Horror is probably one of the most interesting things to me in the horror genre. I'm not really fond of horror. I'm not. I highly respect it. I highly respect the people that, get into it. I personally it's just not me. However, you get a new Amityville Horror going, I'm going to watch it out. Because it has always interested me from the very first movie right up until the most recent one. It was 5-7 years ago or something.
Right.
I've always found interest in that story. The thing of it, and I think it was more that it was real. It was something that was actually true. It was a true story.
I think there's an argument to be made for that when it comes to The Exorcist as well. Especially for the religious folk, right? So that was a huge deal for me growing up with my mom, right? And so I totally get that part. The idea of demons and demon possession and things like that, that's really scary for Christians. And so that was something that I grew up watching. I think I was 7 when I watched The Exorcist the first time. And then I got to see the, uncut version and the director's cut and all the cuts at some point throughout my life. And each one of them was freaky. But I actually had a question for Megan, and I was like, so you were talking about the horror stuff, right? But my question for you specifically was, for me, I watch a lot of suspense movies because to me, they give me that feeling that horror I feel is supposed to give me, right? That uncertainty, that what if, that, that kind of really tense emotive type feeling, right? And I think to encapsulate that in a movie for me would be something like 7, right? That ending was like you knew what it was, but oh my god, like you didn't even have to see it.
I have a funny story about that if you guys want to hear it. But
And so
wanna
my question for you, Megan, is can you think of other movies that you've watched, horror or anything else, where you got that kind of feeling from?
The Six?
I tend to like if it's a movie that is like stressful for me to watch where I'm feeling like, ugh, I usually kind of like steer away from it. I find a lot of horror movies like legitimately scary, but that's because I'm a wuss. So if you plop me down in front of like a super basic slasher, I'm gonna like jump and scream every time because
did you jump at Butterfly? Did you? I know you jumped at the mirror scene, but
yeah, I thought Butterfly Kisses was absolutely terrifying. I was on the edge of my seat from about like 20 minutes in on, and then when it came to that jump scare, like really close to the end, the director of Butterfly Kisses was unfortunate enough to be sitting next to me, and I literally punched him and yelled, "Fuck you!"
That's awesome.
Was he looking at you, waiting for the reaction?
He was looking at. He sat in the back of the theater at all of the screenings, and he during that scene was just watching the crowd like the entire.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's cool.
That is awesome, by the way. I would do that in a heartbeat.
It's an amazing feeling. Yeah, as a director, I got that feeling.
One that I would say that did freak me out, and I always mess up. I think it's the 13 Ghosts. I think is the name of it. It's the one where that's the house, and it like moves.
Yes,
and it's got all the spirits like locked in.
Yeah, it's got Matthew Lillard from Scream in it, and
now that was freaky. It was cool. I liked it. I actually enjoyed it.
That was a pretty good movie.
That was freaky.
No, I have a funny story about Seven. If you guys want to hear a funny story real quick about Seven. I was in a theater in Okinawa because we couldn't go anywhere, so Friday night was theater night, and they had Seven playing, and we're in this big theater. It's a big theater. It's like cathedral, like big theater. There's probably about 250 seats, right? And we're watching, and it's very intense. It's very quiet. Everybody's like into it, right? And the moment the band starts coming down the runway, I go, "Oh, it's her fucking head!" really loud. Like I couldn't help myself. Everybody was so mad at me. It was like I got punched, and the theater guy actually asked me to leave, and I wasn't allowed to go back into the theater for like a month. But
wow.
I blurted it out. I couldn't help it. It was like I figured it out, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, "Okay." That's the only time I've ever been caught doing that. But
that's funny.
Here is this is what scares me. Horror films don't scare me mostly. It's one of those things where I have that mentality from the 90s, from early 2000s of it's the same story, kind of. So I've gotten to that point, and I spent 15 years working at a haunted hayride where
fuck that.
I went from a haunter across the board. I mean, I was in I don't know how many different spots at the place to a staff member behind the scenes teaching how to act and teaching how to be scary and overseeing the whole lay of the land. And I got to the point where in the pitch dark, I could cover 15 miles of these woods like it was nothing, like it was broad daylight. So that's one of the biggest reasons horror films don't really scare me. However,
also you were exposed at 7 years old to I mean,
Mother's Day.
You were desensitized pretty early.
Yeah, but when you want to scare, and comes from my background and my own personal life experience. If you want to scare me, or if you want to freak me out, put on something like lone survivor. And that's because I'm a veteran and I've been there and I've done kind of thing. And if you put a film that is so close to reality for me, where I can relate to it like that, that's where it's going to freak me out and scare the hell out.
Okay.
Yeah, I can understand that completely. I think I think what's interesting about horror specifically, though, and the big thing that I always try to draw from are lessons that I picked up through like Lovecraft. And JD, I know you're kind of a Lovecraft expert here, but the big thing for me that Lovecraft really did well was
Racism. No.
tap into the unknown, right? Tap into the uncertainty, into those things, because those are the primordial fears, right? Those are the things that we're afraid of. We're afraid of the dark, right? Because we can't see and we don't know what's in there. We're afraid of deep water because there are monsters down there and we don't know when it's going to come up and eat us. Yeah, and so like it's liquid dark. Yeah, exactly. So but those things, I think, through his telling, and it's interesting because like when you read like the first Lovecraft, you don't really get a whole lot. It's kind of like, okay, I can kind of whatever. And then but the further you get into each story, right? As you get further into his stories, you start realizing that there's overlaps, and the way he tells the stories are so intricate that there are elements that you start picking up on that are repeating, right? Like these cultists, like these talismans and idols and stuff like that, right? And so like all these things, and I mean, humans have been around for a while. There've been cults and religious practice since mankind's been around. And so all these things exist. So what if all of these things tied into something like, cosmic elder god scale, right? Like Cthulhu and, all these things coming from Ryliath and everything, right? So like all of that stuff. And like that was something that I was one of when I wait, sound went out. Are you guys there?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. It was weird. Sound like completely disappeared. Yes, just like that. I was like, but it was just one of those things where I found a lot of really awesome tricks, I guess you could call them, in my writing to kind of elicit, not necessarily because I don't write horror, I write fantasy, but there are elements throughout dark fantasy where you want to kind of bring that feeling out, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you do it? And so like those are things that I was studying through Lovecraft was, how did he do it? How did he write something that was in and of itself was benign? There was nothing frightening about it at all, right? But then when we sat down and we're like, we put everything together into this bigger scope and this bigger picture.
Can I offer a reason? I think I have a reason.
Go for it.
It's the pacing of what Lovecraft and Poe used to do. They used to pace it. I think a lot of writers today don't understand that pacing is so effective when you're trying to scare somebody or push somebody into an emotion. It's the way. It's not just hitting you with the emotion. It's the way that they subtly drop hint and drop this little. It's an adverb. It's a subtle movement. It's something that they do so incredibly well. It's a lot of what Shakespeare used to do in a lot of his plays, which is have exterior movement and things that pushed toward the ultimate goal, but were very subtle in the way that they did things, in the manners in which they. It's why people have trouble with Shakespeare, is because there's a lot of external dialogue that people go, why does this matter? Well, it matters because it moves one space to another space. It's like playing chess. There's a lot of authors who don't play chess; they play checkers. And I think there's a subtle art to playing chess in especially in storytelling and writing. And I think I think that's what H.P. Lovecraft does so incredibly well. He plays on the idea that you're just walking down a brook, but what's underneath your feet is what matters, because that's what's ultimately going to terrify you at the end. It's what's going to swallow you up. The earth is going to swallow you up because
or the doubt.
Yeah.
Or that doubt of what's beneath your feet.
Yeah.
What you can't see that might exist.
Or in the other, paying attention to the idea that your feet are on not on solid ground, and you're kind of walking this brook, thinking you're gonna fall, and it's the crow from the fucking bush that comes and gnaws at your neck, right? That's the great thing about artists like that. They're able to come at you in a space where it's like being a magician almost, right? You're kind of sleight of hand, right? You're showing something to an audience, and then you're pulling out. You know what comes out of your hand is not what you thought it was. You know, and it's envious and incredibly difficult to pull off. I mean, and I think we all aim towards something towards that kind of idea, right? And I think you do that quite well, actually, Robert, in The Dark Archer. From I haven't read the entire thing, but I'm about a quarter of the way through, I would say. And what I gather from you is you're setting up a lot of things that are going to pay off in the end, and I think that's what a good storyteller does. They set things in motion. They follow the 3-act structure with the points that they're trying to make, and when they do that, it's effective and it makes sense.
Yeah, and I actually twisted the 3-act structure for The Dark Archer specifically. So you're right, because like I was saying, I took a lot of those lessons that I learned, to the very ones you're speaking about, and I used them to elicit very specific emotions at very specific times, right? And what was really nice about that was I was able to keep a very specific pace, but I could pull the reins really hard, really fast, to where people would not realize what was happening until it was already happening. Right. And then so what was really cool about that, though, was that allowed me to play with this whole idea of the 3-act structure even more. Right. So like there's the story, there's a antagonist that we have set up, but then when we get to the end, the actual end isn't what you think it is. So like the actual end is beyond that, where he discovers whether or not he can do what he set out to do, right? And then there's like a little more past that, but that stuff isn't actually the end either. That's just that's the downslide, right? And so it's really like I played with this up and down quite a bit throughout the book just to do that.
And that's awesome, and that's storytelling, and you're invoking your inner Lovecraft there. I definitely
tried. I definitely tried.
I think the best twist endings are like, I think that there's sort of been a trend towards like shock value for a really long time now, and I think that the best twist endings are not sudden. They feel inevitable because they've been built up to. And like, I think that you really, really do, to do an effective twist, to do an effective shock. It's not something where it happens all of a sudden and it comes from out of nowhere.
Yeah,
it has to have foundation.
Yeah, it makes sense. It flows. Like we'll take 7 for an example. 7 is based upon 7 deadly sins. So obviously, if you know the 7 deadly sins, you know you're going to follow all the way through to the final 7, and you're wondering how the last 3 are going to be invoked. And so you kind of put 2 and 2 together, and you come up with a conclusion, right? But it's not exactly the way you thought it would be, and that's what makes it interesting. Another great example would be like I don't know, The Usual Suspects or Sixth Sense. Those are kind of those movies where they have this twist, but if you go back and you rewatch them and you watch all the steps in which it takes to get to that point, you realize that made a lot of sense. That's why that ended that way, right? Is that what you're kind of getting at, Megan?
Yes, and I mean, you see something like, and this is like maybe a hokey example, But the genius of J.K. Rowling and the Harry Potter series is that she laid the groundwork for the ending in book 1 of 7. This is a book that's being read by 12-year-olds. She's already giving you the keys to where the ending is going to go, literally decades before she gets to the end. That's phenomenal setup, and it pays off.
That's awesome. That's a great example. And along the way, she can shift things like certain things that people dying and certain things that happen because those ancillary instances lead all the way to that logical conclusion.
Thanks, Norm.
You're getting hazy.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Where'd you go?
You're kind of breaking up. I don't know if it's everyone or just Joe.
You running AOL?
Oh,
Everybody hear me? Everybody hear me?
yeah.
Yes.
That was a low blow. That was like asking him if he's using Internet Explorer. Come on.
By the way, AOL gave the best coasters for cups ever. They just came as CD form.
All right. Well, we've gone well past what we were going to projectly go past. So 2 hours is good, and I really thank everybody for being here and hanging out. I know we still got a nice little group here, but I really think I think we should end on a good note, right? So. Why don't we have everybody go around, tell everybody where they can find you and how they can find you, and we'll start. I'll start with Robert.
Hey, okay. So I'm pretty easy to find now. Pretty much just type in Robert Cano into Google, and you can find me. But I have a reader group that you can find me on. I have my page at Facebook is at Shadowy Embrace. Same with Twitter and Instagram at Shadowy Embrace. Or you can follow me on my blog, which is shadowyembrace.com. So, pretty much anything Shadowy Embrace is me. So
what is your because I'm on AOL. So what is your AOL chat name and your MySpace account number too?
Well, see, I was one of those geeks who was really smart when it all came out, and I never used AOL. So,
all right, JD.
My username on ICQ is the Riddler. That was my first username before I switched to Joker, but that's a whole other spiel. JD Estrada Writer. You can look me up on Twitter. You can look me up on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. I don't do any other social media because that's more than enough. I'm keeping myself entertained during quarantine, doing Corona Couture and just random stuff to keep the good vibes going. Got 15 books out. 13 are available digitally. One is on sale right now. It's a nonfiction. It's a guide to creative kindness because people think that there's only one type of kindness, and I disagree so much. I wrote a book about it. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right.
Cheers, Mama Estrada.
There you go. Well, we're going to get to the toast in a minute. So, all right, Megan.
I am Megan Morgan. You can find me on Facebook as Megan Morgan. I have recently been reading chapters from my first novel, The Altered Wake. That is by Clickworks Press, and The Altered Rise should be out shortly. I'm on Instagram as MMMWrites and Twitter as M3Writes, but Facebook is my main place these days.
And both you and Robert have done some amazing stuff on Facebook lately. I applaud you guys for taking advantage of it. That's really awesome. Nice readings that are going on around there. And JD is always awesome with his double O bananas, and his COVID couture. I enjoy that as well. Corona couture. But Mr. Richard,
I'm drunk. I'm You can find me pretty much everywhere. I'm on Facebook, author Richard White. I also have a Facebook group, Richard White's Adventures and Stories. I love having people come in there, visit with me, ask me questions, hang out with me, talk to me. I do have Discord as well. If you want to join my Discord, I absolutely love having people come over there as well and just kind of fill me in on what's going on for the day. Sometimes I share some stuff when I've got things open and my schedule is free. Just PM me, message me one way or another, email me, and I will get you a Discord link. You are welcome to join. There's like a Discord code or something like that. I'm not quite sure what it is. So it's easier, just PM me and I'll send you the link. You can find me on Twitter, R White Author. On Facebook, it's Author Richard White. Instagram, it's Author Richard White. I'm in a few other places as well. LinkedIn, somewhere there. Pretty much if you Google me, you'll find me. The other way you can find me is Shotgun Bow Rivers. You can also Google that, and you'll find probably either my blog or at least my Facebook page and Facebook profile for Shotgun Bow Rivers, where I write my Western.
All right.
That's pretty much it. Other than that,
Nice. Congratulations. I think only the guy behind you is surprised that you're drunk, but
Norm, where do we find you, Norm?
all right. And I'm Joe Compton, and thank you so much for joining us, everybody. You've been watching Joe's Bar from Go Indie Now. Go Indie Now is an online network for those of you who are new to what we do and who we are. We're an online network. We produce many shows that help promote, support, and foster and introduce you to all kinds of indie artists of all kinds. And we do so through many means. And you can go check out our channel right now that you're watching this from. If you're watching this in Facebook, you can go to our YouTube channel through our Facebook page and check us out. I would love it if you liked what you saw and you were here for the first time. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Yeah, I don't do that very often, but I feel like there's a lot of new people here, so please, I would really enjoy that if you all came back and joined us. We do this once a month, pretty much every second or third Friday of the month. We do Joe's Bar and hang out. We don't do it as long as we've done it tonight, but we were having such a great conversation. I didn't want it to stop because everybody here is so amazing, and I'm really appreciative of each and every one of you for hanging out and getting drunk. Those of you that did. But I'm a little tipsy myself. But as we do customary at the end of every Joe's Bar, we do a toast, and well, everybody grab a glass, give everybody a chance to grab a glass, even if you're in the chat and we can't see you, please do. And I just want to say, first off, cheers, Mama Estrada.
Cheers.
Amazing. And in the immortal words of Socrates, I drank what? And that brings it full circle. And thank you so much, everybody, for being at Joe's Bar and hanging out with us. As you know, it's always time to go indie now, but unfortunately, the bar is closed. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening.